everyone, Babs Hockey here with the Player Coach Podcast. Here, I'll give multiple perspectives from a player and a coach so you can see the game from different viewpoints. And I'll give you the latest in hockey IQ development so you can make better decisions and take your game to that next level. Today, I want to talk about the problem with women's hockey. Now, I've been working with a lot of girls and women at all ages, working from 12 all the way up to 20, a lot of high-skilled players. I see a ton of potential. You're starting to see this now. You're starting to see a lot of players in the All-Star game, a lot of awareness brought to women's hockey, and getting more support from USA Hockey all over the world. The skill level overall is improving. But what I've noticed is a couple different things that are really holding players back. This is something that I've really noticed over the last 2 years working with some groups and some of their skill sets that they were taught in prior years, or just some of the things that were neglected at an early age. And fortunately now I'm able to work with more and more players and younger girls and trying to show them some of these mechanics and skills that really matter so that when they start getting older, they don't have these bad habits or they aren't focused on the wrong things. And so one of the first thing I really want to talk about, and it bugs me every time I talk to parents about it, is shooting. I hear this all the time. Oh, girls aren't strong enough, so their shot's not very good. So they just worry about getting stronger and stronger and trying to shoot harder and harder. And it's so frustrating to see because you see this example in guys hockey. You see this with boys all the time. The biggest guy might have the hardest shot early on, but as they get older, that really isn't the case. And even you're seeing it now at a young age with the advancement of sticks and the mechanics awareness from a skill development standpoint has changed. It's not about that. I see lots of younger players that have wicked shots because they adjust their curve, they get the right stick, they working on the right mechanics, and it's about making the adjustments there. What I've noticed with a lot of in girls hockey and with women is they'll go work out a ton. They feel the need that they need to get stronger and stronger and stronger, or they'll shoot a ton of heavy pucks. I've seen this frequently where they'll just get a ton of heavy pucks and just sit there and rip them off and in the hopes that they'll start getting stronger. And the strength component is an important part. They do need to get stronger, absolutely. But there's no focus on mechanics. I don't see a lot of coaches talking about the mechanics. And I'm fortunate to work with some younger girls, start teaching them some of the right mechanics, the core major skills that matter. And I see their shots absolutely skyrocket. It's incredible. They haven't got much stronger, but their shots are unbelievably different from when they first started working with me. And it's not necessarily about what I'm talking about. It's simply just bringing awareness to the mechanics that matter. It's a focus on mechanics first versus strength. You want to build the mechanics and then tackle the strength side of it. We don't want to build strength on dysfunction. If a player doesn't know how to shoot properly, it doesn't matter if you make them stronger or they're able to lift more, they're still not going to be able to shoot properly. You see this with golf all the time. Golf gets a more of a hyper focus on mechanics and technique, and you see lots of smaller individuals, male or female, that are able to absolutely rip the ball. And you see lots of, like personally, my own experience when I go golfing, I'm a terrible golfer. I got no mechanics whatsoever. And some of my younger kids are able to absolutely destroy the ball. They probably put three times as much as I can drive the ball simply because they have that muscle memory. They've worked on those mechanics. And it's the same thing with hockey. I really believe that with the background, with what I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of these younger players in girls hockey in general, women's hockey in general, they need to focus more on mechanics. And when you do that, they're going to be able to get much better shots. They're going to get way better results. And now the next thing I want to focus on is the skating. This is a strength in their game. This is something that they do better, especially early on, than males. And this is the problem with tackling on trying to get super, super strong and forgetting about what they do well is they end up becoming worse skaters as they get older. The focus becomes so much on their shot and trying to get stronger that they essentially slow themselves down. They start worrying so much about getting bigger and stronger instead of focusing on mechanics. Again, skating is their strength, but it comes back to the mechanics side of things. You have to teach them the proper mechanics, and they already have it. Women have wider hips, they end up with that knock knee syndrome, and it essentially plays into the strength of hockey. It allows you to get into that tripod position. You look at guys like Pedersen, Kucherov, they're able to get in that corkscrew wide base position with the knees collapsed in, and they're able to manipulate time and space. And this is an advantage that isn't being utilized in women's hockey. It's tough to see because they already have this advantage. They're already better skaters at a younger age, and the focus just isn't taken on here. And really, when you talk about the shooting and skating, it all comes back to mechanics. They're not talking about mechanics enough. They're talking more about getting stronger versus teaching those underlying mechanics. Now, I know you're probably thinking, why is he talking so much about skill? What about IQ? And I'll get to that. But before I even when I work with players, especially below the ages of 12, even 14 years old, a huge focus is on mechanics. They need to get a lot of reps at those ages. They need to get proper reps. They need to get playing time where they can learn to love the game, but they're getting taught the right mechanics, the core skills that matter, these underlying skills that underlie anything that players do in the NHL. And so when you break down the video, there are core skills. I talk about things like the flow, the roll and pull, the optional handle. All these things play into the right mechanics, and they underlie majority of the movements of NHL players. And so this needs to be the focus. If you really want to accelerate your development, and this goes to all players, not just women's hockey, not just girls hockey. It's for boys too. Any pros. I'm a pro player. I work with lots of other pro players. We have times where we focus on mechanics. It's not going to be as much as younger players. It's much more crucial to get it at a younger age, but it's still important to really fine tune those skills. There's always a little bit more room to work on. So from that perspective, we need to focus on mechanics. Shooting is a weakness in women's hockey, and the problem isn't strength, it's mechanics. You want to teach them the right mechanics, the core skills that matter, and then you want to build strength on top of that. Next, skating is a strength in women's hockey. This is an area where they excel in. So we need to continuously build this strength. We want to double down on this. When you do that, you're going to be able to create those competitive advantages and really accelerate the overall development of the sport for them. This is why I think the focus, again, for both of these needs to be mechanics versus trying to tackle on so much strength. I'm not saying that strength training isn't important, but it needs to be, you need to prioritize your development. First, it starts with mechanics so you can build the right movements, and then you build the strength on it. You don't want to build strength on dysfunction because it's just going to slow them down. You might get some short-term results, but long-term, you're going to ruin their game, or it's going to make it very difficult to break those habits. Something that I have to do a lot with the newer players that come in and work with me. We have to break down those old bad habits. And so the last thing I want to talk about for women's hockey is that IQ. And again, this is not just for them, but it's for boys too, especially younger players now, at boy or girl, do not watch enough hockey. They need to watch more hockey. This is just something from at all ages, just a general topic, and it applies to women's hockey, applies to every athlete in hockey. We need to watch more hockey. In order to be creative and see these different options, you have to be able to see how the best in the game do it. What are they seeing? What are they doing? What are the little habits that they're performing consistently that are allowing them to do those great things that they're doing on the ice, to be able to create these highlight reel goals and plays? We have to watch their needs, and it can't simply just be highlights. You have to see what a majority of the game is. The problem with highlights is you'll watch a highlight video on YouTube of Ovechkin toe dragging 50 times, someone that cut out that clip, watched probably hours of video just to get 15 clips of him toe dragging. And then players will have the perception that that's what they do all the time, or that's what they do on a consistent basis. You need to watch full games, watch period. I typically get players to watch 20 minutes, watch a period, and you'll see once you get through like 10 to 20 periods, you're going to notice that a lot of nothing happens a lot of times. It's a game of mistakes. I've talked about this before. But we need to understand the flow of the game. When you watch more and more hockey, you start seeing the little nuances of the game. You're able to pick up on specific skills that matter or different areas that you can apply to your game to really accelerate your development. So, hope you enjoyed the podcast here, especially with working with so many young women, working with some girls that are really starting to accelerate their game and coming in with an open mind. These are the things that I've noticed. The shooting, we want to focus on mechanics, then build the strength on it, not the other way around. The skating, we want to double down on your strength. This is a key area. Growing up, we all, myself, I had girls on my team. They were always the best skaters at a young age, and you still see that now when you see them playing out there. They're the best skaters. So we want to keep building on that strength. Again, the focus needs to be on mechanics, not strength. Strength is after. You want to build that strength when you have the right mechanics. And then this is for everyone right now. Need to watch more hockey. Especially with this age of social media, with so much more trying to grab our attention. You see players watching less and less hockey. It doesn't matter, male, female, you can watch more hockey. The more you watch, the better you'll be able to start seeing the different options, the little nuances in the game, so you can create a competitive advantage in your game. So again, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Make sure to sign up for the IQGame course if you haven't already to really start seeing the game and looking at several different tutorials on what is actually happening so that when you're watching hockey, you're able to pick up on these principles or ozone patterns or shot selections to create an advantage when you get out there. Also, I have the in-season plan where I go through different video analysis of your shifts, full breakdowns that you get to keep each month. I have monthly phone calls. We go through bi-weekly reviews, accountability checklists to really hone in your development and optimize specifically what you need to do to get to that next level. So thanks again for tuning in. Look forward to the next podcast here and taking your game to that next level.